Welcome back to the Word Traction podcast. Today, as I have neglected election fraud for nearly 24 hours, but the fascists do not give up. This is Snail Mail Fail, and this is your USPS, your United States Postal Service. And Mr. David Steiner, who is the Postmaster General, has been up kicking around Capitol Hill in various hearings and giving his general opinion on the state of operations at the USPS. And as long as I can remember the subject of the USPS since my youth, it's been a shambles. It's been a mess, and the USPS is kind of stuck in between the the executive branch and the legislative branch, with both pulling in different directions and funding sources, and who's really in charge. And the president doesn't appoint the Postmaster General, but he appoints a board of people, a board to elect the Postmaster General. So essentially, and with the compliant Congress unwilling to put on their own diapers, they're not going to be giving up much resistance. And if you missed the story, the vote that was that softball resolution demanding that Trump withdraw troops forthwith from Iran. Two of the senators, Cassidy and Rand Paul, reversed their votes a day later, and so now the measure is scuttled. Another, Rand Paul, he's supposed to be a stick in the mud. That's the only value he has, and this, lack of courage in Congress. That's not breaking news. That's broken news. That's same as it ever was, but particularly in Trump 2.0, John Thune, the most handsome coward in Washington, D.C., and his Senate cadre are their behavior is particularly reprehensible. But this is a delightful little twist that they're trying to play here. It was announced; it's under notice and comment right now, but it's another angle at requiring the states to provide the voter roll information that Trump wants, so he can purge it, manipulate it, put it into a Palantir grab bag, and tell all sorts of lies, interrupt the people's right to vote, and also what Trump has been doing all along, and what he did in Fulton County, Georgia, with the former DI, the head of Tulsi Gabbard, before she beat a hasty retreat, and Mr. Pulte will be doing his best work, worst work, to disrupt elections in any possible way he can. But as to the USPS in particular, and Mr. David Steiner, he is an accomplished attorney. He is a former CEO of Waste Management, and most importantly, he used to be on the board of directors and exert a fair amount of influence at FedEx. And if you think about that in terms of the Republican Party's never-ending quest to privatize the USPS, here's a guy who was, in senior leadership at FedEx, sitting there, and eventually he will be supervising the dismantling of the USPS, but not before Donald J. Trump weaponizes every aspect of the USPS he can to put the kibosh on the midterm elections. This latest, and this is not exclusive and not limited to, but what Mr. Steiner has said on behalf of the president is that unless the states provide the voter rolls for those that are registered to vote by mail or by absentee ballot in any other way, shape, or form, then your postal service is going to refuse to deliver ballots. They're putting the onus on the states to provide the information and, in addition, to provide barcoded delivery identifying tags for ballots to be delivered. They're so burden shifting, shifting the cost of doing this, and in fact, a request that should be ruled unconstitutional because, of course, states run elections, federal government. But this is a neat little carve out where the executive branch and legislative branch both have some purview. So this is going to be a very interesting fight. And of course, the ACLU and other groups will jump up and down and scream and do their best. But this is another effort to sow doubt, if nothing else. It's like, well, you mean, so now if I register to vote, if I'm getting a mail-in ballot, does that mean that they're going to disclose all of my personal information to the Trump administration to be weaponized by Palantir and used against me? And, the answer is ultimately no, but it's not a simple black or white issue. They're going to use all of these very powerful weapons to make things more difficult to cast your ballot. There are many states that are over 85% mail-in ballot, which is the way to go. I mean, it's really, if you think about it, if you want an engaged electorate, get the information to them ahead of time. So if you think about all of the additional measures that are on each of, and obviously every state is different. You have these constitutional proposed amendments and the like. You want to be able to sit down, talk to your family perhaps, and read, discuss, and take time to analyze the candidates that are on the ballot instead of rushing. I understand people that want it, that because they've always done it that way, they prefer to go to the ballots at their local elementary school, like most places do it, and cast it in person because that is a part of the franchise as an American that they find valuable. It's a patriotic duty. But as far as efficiency and actually having the time to dedicate to that process, I think mail-in balloting should be in in all 50 states. But of course, it's not the federal government's position to even suggest that because it is state by state. So what does that mean to you and me? It means, it means that a reminder, if we needed it, that the Trump administration is going to use every power that they have to disrupt the process. It means just what I talked about yesterday and 925 times before. I'm exaggerating, and I know it seems repetitive, redundant, but it's so important. And we're all busy. We all have other things going on. But just doing the checkbox on the voter ID is one way to fight back against the fascists. The ballot, if you are a regular mail-in ballot person, then you should make provisions to go and cast a provisional ballot, if things get a little choppy as we get through October and the fascists are on the march and doing all sorts of crazy things. Now, there are, you know, are there ways to work around a USPS attempt to interrupt the ballot? Yeah, but what that would require is ballot drop boxes. And what the fascists have been doing is eliminating drop boxes in many places and moving them and, again, causing further confusion. So it has to be a sort of all hands on deck at a time when we have perhaps less time and a shorter attention span. That is a recipe for allowing the Project 2025 crew to win. So we're not going to do that. That is material support of terrorism. Letting Donald J. Trump get away with this kind of silly shit is handing it to the terrorists without punching them in the nose first, figuratively, of course, because this is a nonviolent podcast. But just, follow the news. I'll be posting on it frequently. I'll do a little bit more. There was one of the stories I read was a good ABC News explainer on this issue, so I'll put that in my feed in the next couple hours, and just be aware of it. And you're like, well, I live in a liberal state, so what can they possibly do? And to be fair, the states that do, I'm going to off the top of my head, the states that do over 85% of votes cast are via mail-in ballot are Washington, Oregon, California, right? I think Utah is up there. Yeah, Utah as well. Utah is always going to be red, and all of the other ones that have a high percentage of mail-in ballots are very blue states. But the disruption itself can cause issues. Imagine, just dream up a hypothetical that Trump says, well, they were instructed by me, the executive, the boss of all things, not to accept mail-in ballots if there were the barcode as described by my administration, by David Steiner. The barcode was not included on the envelope, so we're going to disregard every ballot that we receive that doesn't have the barcode. You can litigate it, but when you're at the finish line and you turn around and you ask the administration why they did another Fulton County, Georgia operation, or the sheriff in Greater Los Angeles that confiscated all of those ballots, hoping to win an election, that win the favor of the president. That was that former sheriff that was running for an office. It's like, well, all you need to do in certain blue states, you've heard of this whole AI thing that seems to be working out pretty well, that all you need to do if you're the president is to call your friends at Palantir to do some evil mathematics and target those counties within the particular states, talking about now, not talking about 28, but 26, where Republicans in the Senate are most vulnerable, right? So Maine, Alaska, and on from there, right? Georgia and Texas, and whatever the fuck they're doing down in Florida now. You could, with obviously compliant folks in Texas for the president, right? He's not gonna get as much love in California, but he doesn't have to spread his resources over all 50 states. He just needs to attack the ones that are most vulnerable to chaos, as we talked about yesterday. That chaos, he can just get on the bat phone and talk to his friend Voda at his summer residence in St. Petersburg, and say, "What do I do, Hefe?" And yeah, and if you target those resources, you send the masked men only to the counties where there's the Democratic Party has the greatest chance of winning those Senate seats, and you flood the zone with masked men that carry guns but aren't trained to use them. It can be disruptive. So yeah, so that's snail mail fail. That is your president and your postmaster general. Post not not postmaster Bates. That's a different story for another day. If anyone knows, here's a good. I don't know about fame and glory or large cash prizes, but if you can tell me in the comments where postmaster Bates was used in a work of fiction, the title and author, then I'll restack and like a whole bunch of your content. How's that? That's something that can help on the platform right here, this here platform. So thank you. We'll keep it short. I want to give uh, a request. I'm not a request for thoughts and prayers guy because that usually comes out sounding disingenuous because of the people that have used it, particularly in the MAGA Republican world, to be all about Jesus, except as it applies to trafficking, sex trafficking of minors. So that's that hypocrisy. But all seriousness, Venezuela, not the only place on the planet that had earthquakes in the last 24 hours. There were some as well in Japan, substantial. But the difference, if this is fair, is that Japanese culture and technology and resources mean that the construction in Japan is built anticipating earthquakes, tsunamis, yeah, but earthquakes. This is not a new phenomenon to Japan. They have wonderful engineers. They have better more resources and better planning for that eventuality. It's going to happen. And the beautiful Japanese people will plan for such eventualities, and which means that the buildings, the people, if you're in an earthquake, you're obviously, if you're just out walking the dog in the park, there's very little chance of injury, right? But being inside a structure that collapses is a different matter. In Venezuela, in that particular region that was hit with the proverbial double tap of two consecutive earthquakes of, I think it was 6.9 and then 7.5. Real earthquakes, concentrated. Of course, it matters the depth at which they, things that as a non geologist, as a non seismographer, I only study. I didn't. I'm not a decorated veteran of that area of study. but I did live in Venezuela and was, concerned and then delighted to be woken up a number of times, just 3 o'clock in the morning. They're not Earthquakes are not on a schedule, except if you talk about the Senor. He knows. Mother Nature might know. But other than that, they are sort of, unplanned, seismic activities. And I can remember waking up, you know, if you wake up and the bed is moving and you're with somebody else, that can be good, that can be fun, that can be delightful. But waking up, the first time that I really experienced, um, a 6 point something level, earthquake while I was, living in Venezuela, it's a v it's an exciting and a little bit frightening, but you wake up, you know what it is. You know you're in a good structure, and you know that everybody, it's kind of like a shared experience, kind of like socialism, which, it was in Venezuela when I lived there, and with any luck at all, it will be returning in New York first and then spreading across the nation. And before you MAGA types, you, false prophet conservatives say socialism and communism bad, then you talk to your chief fucking executive who is taking positions in companies, taking equity positions in the companies for the state because he can. That's not socialism, that's communism. Look it up. Plenty of material. I would commend the works of Karl Marx and others. Learn before you go on Fox News and open up your stupid fucking mouths about the descent into socialism. Understand what you're talking about first. People, Fox is a silo, and you're talking to people that are going to believe what you say, regardless of whether it's true or not. But what if you're asked to go on a real program like Abby Phillip on CNN? Uh, Often has she has that one right wing Jennings, the lunatic that comes on to give the fair and balanced thing on her catfight debate table. Nobody takes him seriously. Nobody thinks that he has something to say, but it's just for the dynamics, the performative value, right? So, yeah, before, Zoran Mamdani's tremendous success at getting his candidates, helping them to get across the finish line, is not a reason to dig up a whole bunch. You don't need a lot Islamophobic thoughts, tropes. There's plenty out there. I mean, we don't need more of that. Just like none of us want uh, thinking, feeling people do not want Islamophobia, right? We don't want anti-Jew, anti-Muslim, anti-Christian, anti-Hindu, like those hating on the vice president's wife's religion and her parents' religion. Don't need any of that. I mean, I know that it's what you do in Fox world, is that you attack people that are different than you are to try to feel superior because you're so small to begin with. It's the only way you can feel as if your opinion matters. And it doesn't. Nobody fucking likes you, but you're going to keep going, right? But we don't need anti-Semitism as much as Bibi Netanyahu wants anti-Semitism to grow ahead of the election because it will give him a villain to fight against and the best chance of staying out of prison for, they have to have the elections. I don't remember the day, but a date in October, right? This coming. He has to call elections. He'll try. You're always involved in a war. It's a national emergency. It's always a national emergency. You're in Israel. That's just that's the state of play, right? Bibi. You and your friend Donald, you are a lying sack of shit, BB. And you still have, because of Iran, the fact that Trump may be walking away from Iran and leaving them even more dangerous than they were when we arrived, because he killed the supreme leader, didn't decimate all of the missiles, left the proxies largely in place, minus a couple people that got beepers via FedEx. And the nuclear program is deeper underground, but otherwise unaffected. So you're going to take a caged tiger, and like a cartoon, you're going to stick a match in between the pads of the tiger's paw and light it on fire and see what happens. I can tell you, but we'll wait. You want to keep some suspense. You're a reprehensible human being, but yeah, we don't need the Islamophobia. We don't need Bibi. We don't need Trump. We don't need hatred. We don't need racism. We don't need any of that. Anti-Semitism as well, right? It's all of the above, unwanted, unnecessary. But that's what politicians do, particularly Trump and Netanyahu, is that they use that, and then Nigel Farage, and the folks, the AfD in Germany. They're coming over the walls. Well, actually, Angela Merkel invited them first. But we're in a different world. France read a story today that Marine Le Pen, who, if the courts allow her to, will win the elections next year in France, is there's a girl chat group, a group of female leaders, distinguished female leaders, that are pushing back at Trump's misogynistic behavior. They include, of course, Ms. Merloni of Italy, who is a human delight now, not a fascist, former fascist, but we love her now because she's given Trump the business in triplicate. Now, Marine Le Pen is kind of siding with her. And in the Wonder Twins that is now Wonder Triplet group is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is teaming up with these esteemed female leaders to give Trump more agina. And as we learned yesterday or the day before, he's taking some super secret medication, right, that is supposed to manage agina over a period of time. That is very disturbing. But I won't comment on that until I find out exactly what that drug that he is being administered. He is one of the rare. It's one of those situations where the compassionate use, they are administering a drug that could be experimental on the president of the United States and not publishing that information to those that elected him. And is that okay? John Thune? Mike Johnson? Grinder Mike? It's not okay, but you guys keep putting up with it. So anyway, check in with the postmaster and Postmaster Bates. I'll be looking for the comment giving me the correct answer to the clue, and I'll award a prize. I will shout out the recipient of that prize and give that person a little bit of social media love in some way, shape, or form. And we will come back at you tomorrow with, at the very least, DEI Fridays, which is our regular Friday feature. Right? Ironic that DEI Fridays would be on a Friday. But just like today is corrupt connections, it could be all corrupt connections 7 days a week until Trump leaves the office. And I'm not suggesting ever that the Democratic Party is holier than ye, thou, or she, or they. There have been, obviously, corrupt individuals of both parties. But Trump is just raising it to a new art form, uh, much like Leonardo, not DiCaprio, Da Vinci, as I was posting about earlier today. So, yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna push the camera back a little bit into the shade to see if there's any possible way I'll be able to see the button, which seems unlikely. So I will do my. I'm going to take a drink. Salute. No alcohol. It's not Tang either. Look that up, kids. That's just good old fashioned Gatorade. But wishing you well. Kindly retweet, restack, post to a different platform. If you're on Fbook, kindly share this with a friend, somebody you love, somebody you hate. Um, and if I gave this short shrift, my apologies. Venezuela. I haven't had the pleasure of living in Japan. I want all the best and safety and recovery and blessings for everybody in Japan. But Venezuela is a country that I lived in, experienced earthquakes in, and have many people that live there that I care more about than I do anybody in the U.S. government, for sure. And they've had, they've gotten the Trump do-si-do. He went in and did a quote unquote regime change, which was nothing. He kidnapped somebody in order to, and we'll still be seeing the byproduct of the Nicholas Nasty Nick Maduro do-si-do, where he's going to have been on the grassy knoll and witnessed ballot tampering in 2020. He's going to swear to it and sign, gracias a Dios, and yeah, and save himself some hard time in a U.S. prison. The only people doing hard time in maximum security prisons, it seems, is democracy advocates, because you saw yesterday that Todd Blanche just gave himself the power to assign prisoners to whatever particular facility, federal level, that he deems appropriate. So he can take all of the Proud Boys and the other white national groups, the Hitler Youth, the Hitler Middle Aged, and the other, and he can put them all in play camps and work release or send them home. And he can take, mom and pop democracy advocates who, stole a container of pepper spray or pulled a piece of plastic out of the water at the reflecting pool, and send them to Attica, or that's a state prison. I'm sorry. Send them to a maximum, an ultramax, supermax prison, because he can do that with the stroke of a pen. And unless one or two members of the Senate stand up and show a little bit of backbone, maybe they'll be next. So, that's what you have to keep reminding yourself, that you're like, I don't want to get involved because Trump's going to send a pizza to my house, and therefore it's going to be, yeah. When the fascists come for one of us, they come for all of us. Just remember that. So, yeah, well, thank you. And I'm going to attempt to gracefully stand up and gracefully lift the camera and get into some shade, deactivate the camera, and then take the extraordinarily handsome four-legged assassin for a little walk around the neighborhood. It's 80 something in northern Massachusetts, but the little boy's got to do his business, and so I want to be part of it, as owners, pet owners do, or not. We're not owners. That sounds horrible. As co-partners on this journey called life, my four-legged assassin wants to go for a walk, and I'm there for it. So thank you, and wishing you a beautiful night. Thank you, and let's do this carefully so we don't put our fat face or thumbs in front of the camera. Give the nice people a view at the what some might call the verdant splendor of northern Massachusetts. I was going to say if I got up on the roof, then you might be able to even see the ocean. But of course, I can't see to the street, so it would be. But I should be less selfish and do that for the nice people. But yeah, if I get on the roof, then that means I'm likely to fall off of it. So bear with me for a second, please.